Right, so now it's probably a good time to click on the character status, and you'll see that you have Tarsi as your new bridge officer. And if we click on stations, you'll see that we have a standard awaiting. If you leave them blank, you'll just get some generic tactical officer being down with you. However, if you click on the down arrow, you'll see that you have your new bridge officer. So if we click on her, she'll go in that slot, and then when we get 3 more, we'll be able to add those 3 to our awaiting. Also, in your starship, when we get one, we haven't got one yet, but when we get our starship, we will have slots for our awaiting on our ship, which I'll show you when we get to the ship. But that's where we add these to it, and Tarsi's already added automatically. We go back to and you switch between your character and your bridge officer, and I've unlocked a lot more bridge officer slots, but you can have multiple bridge officers. You can only have 4 awaiting members active at one time, but you can have lots of bridge officers. You can buy bridge officers in the store, or you get given some of them, like we have with Tarsi. If I bring up the inventory, you'll see that each bridge officer will come with a default set of weapons, shields, and body armor. Some do come with body armor, some don't. She doesn't. And devices. Now, when we got that, when we got the bridge officer, we also got a Type 2 phaser, a Type 2 Mark 1 stun phaser. And if you hover over it, it shows your current primary weapon and the weapon that you're hovering over. It also gives you the damage types, how much damage it does, and what its first and secondary, that's the blue text, for primary and secondary fire. So if we look, the current weapon, the default weapon that we got with her, does 67.9 DPS. If we look at the Mark 1, you'll see that it does 72.1 DPS. So what we should do is drag over and swap that out. Now, not all weapons are better than the other weapons that you're given, but in this case it's a slightly stronger weapon. Not much, but a little bit. So we'll change that to there, and we'll move that just over to the other side, just out of the way for now. Now this is the ship that they're on. You also can get like impulse engines, phaser beams, shield arrays, deflectors, weapons, devices you can put in, and some consoles. Now, in this default ship we've been given, you get a default weapon layout, which usually aren't that good, depending on the ship. If you buy a ship in the store, the weapons tend to be the weapons and the engines and things tend to be a bit better, but the generic ones that you get, they're not brilliant. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to swap out the impulse engine. Yeah, another thing is if you equip an item that you haven't equipped before, it gets locked to you, so you won't be able to trade it or sell it in the exchange. So unless you really want to upgrade them, I mean, if you think you're going to sell them, then don't slot them. But in this case, they're low level items, they're not worth much, but they will give you a boost if you equip them. So let's equip that one. Let's upgrade the phaser beam. There, and we'll upgrade the shield, because they're better. And then essentially you could bin those, which if you right click you can discard, or if you click on replicator and click on recycle, it will show you how much it will cost, how much money you get back for recycling them. Now in these cases they're useless, so they got 0 value. So if we recycle those because we don't need them. If they were worth anything, then you'd get energy credits for them, and that would show up there. Over in this screen will show when you equip or unequip an item like a shield. It will show you over here the defense rating of the shield. So if I put it back, yeah, 2750. This tends not to show accurately when you're on the ground. You usually have to be in space, like in sector space, and not next to like a space dock or DS9 or anything like that. You generally have to be in space to see the accurate number for this. It's always the way it's been. So let's close that. Let's close that. And I think that's all for now. So let's take the helm.
Sensors are picking up Klingon power signatures in 2 nearby satellites. I'm thinking they're broadcasting the distress signals that lured in our ships. Bring us in close so we can scan them and find out.
Aye, sir.
Increase your speed using E. Decrease your ship speed by using Q.
Right. So, to go backwards in your ship, you click the reverse button, and you can't really tell, but you've gone backwards, and you click on it again to stop. If you want to go forward, you can click and drag the slider up and down. That is full impulse, which will put you to max or stop. The quicker way to do it though is if you do E, you'll see it jumps in increments to go forward, and then Q to decrease speed. And if you do at the bottom and you press Q, that will put you in reverse. If you press E, that will stop, and then E again. So that's a quick way of gaining speed and losing speed. Let's stop. Again, we got the number keys at the bottom, and
Position yourself near the beacon and hit F to interact with it.
yes, thank you. As you see, you've got evasive maneuvers on number 1, which will give you a speed, maneuverability and defense buff, which you can use. Where we pick to those, if I go back to the top, go to stations, you see we have the 3 stations. Depending on which ship you can have up to 4 stations. But we've only got 1 bridge officer at the moment. Can you see? None. We've only got 1 bridge officer, and they've only got torpedoes available. So there we go. There's Tarsi down here with a torpedo, and that is torpedo high yield. So you can click it, and then the next time you fire a torpedo, it will be a high yield torpedo, and you get a countdown timer before you can use it again. Here shows your weapon loadout, and if you hover over it, it shows the phaser arc, and this one is your torpedo, and that's your torpedo arc. And the aft phasers. So when you're firing your phasers, you got a 360 around your ship, whereas torpedoes you have to point your ship towards the direction of where you're firing in that arc. Over here shows your shields, and if you need more shields in one quadrant, you have to click to move power over to there. But once you stop, it resets. Once you stop clicking, it resets and goes back. So you'd have to continually click on that. Over here, you've got your weapon output, your shield output, your engines, and your auxiliary battery. If you want to put more into attack, you click the button and you see that numbers change to max and go up. Or if you want more in shield, that will adjust the numbers to give you 100 in shields. With speed, if you want to go faster, or there's balanced, where it's all balanced. Now, 99% of the time, you want weapon power. And I tend to run with weapon power at maximum. Now, as you fire, you'll see that the numbers drop until you stop firing, and then they go up again. And you can use different consoles. You can use different consoles and devices that will mitigate the energy drain from these systems to a certain extent. We don't have any at the moment, so it's probably going to drop quite rapidly, but at the level we're going through the tutorials and the beginning levels, it's not so much of a problem. Then over here you've got firewall beams, firewall torpedoes, firewall weapons. And obviously you click on those and it'll fire each thing. So let's go and see the distress beacon. Let's get a bit of speed on. Down here gives you your ship name and a basic outline of what your ship's signature is. If I go top view, just right click and drag, it will show you outline. So there you go, warp nacelles, the main hull, and then you right click and you can drag around, or left click and drag around. Right, let's stop at the beacon, and we're close enough to scan it, so let's scan it. And you get a scanning
Science report coming in now. The satellites are using a triaxulating signal. It's strong enough to cut through the interference and reach ships outside the nebula. Clever. Almost a shame we have to blow them up, isn't it?
Aye, sir. It's a real tragedy.
Use your torpedo to attack enemies who are not shielded.
Right, in that case, let's move away. Now you'll see above, if the text is blue, you can some objects you can interact with or go near without problems, it kind of means it's an ally. If it's in orange, it means that you can fire on it. It's an enemy.
Use W and S to move up or down. Use A and D to move left or right.
Yep, thank you. And also, if you get within about, I think it's 10 kilometers, it will show up in here in white the distance from the target. So you go forward, you get closer to it, it counts down. You can only fire at objects when you're within 10 kilometers of them. So this 1.5 is perfectly fine. Don't get too close to enemies when they blow up, because it will damage your ship. And as the computer said, you hold D, turn to right, to A, turn left. You can point the ship down by A, and you can point it up by S. So yeah, let's not get too close.
Warning.
Nice
Ship
work.
is under
One
attack.
down, one to go. Looks
yeah.
like this one is shielded though.
You must be within 10 kilometers of an enemy to attack it.
Yeah, there you go. You must be within 10. So that one is 15.6, and also shows up in orange. That shows you that it is an enemy target. But because it's 15 and outside your attack range, it's in orange. So if we move closer to it, so you
Use
see
your
that-
phaser beam to weaken shielded targets.
Yes, thank you. Right, as you see, we've come below the 10 kilometers, the 9.75. So now it's turned to white. So that means that you can now shoot at it. So if we use the phaser,
Warning, ship is under attack. Target's
Use your
shield have
torpedo
failed.
on an enemy when their shield is down.
and then
You must be
fire a
out of
torpedo.
combat to answer the hail. The red alert message at the top of your screen will indicate if you are in combat.
Yeah. So if you're in combat, you can't answer hails. You have to wait until you've come out of red alert, and that's an automatic process. You can't speed it up. There's that. Right. So let's answer the hail.
Can you hear us? We're under attack by Klingon raiders. Our shields are buckling. Won't last long.
Hold on, Captain. We're on our way. Also, a quick note is if you press
Activate full impulse by clicking on the arrow. Deactivate full impulse by clicking on it again.
Yep. If you press R, it will immediately drop you to stop, and if you press R again, it will immediately put you to full impulse, to maximum speed. But if you press the full impulse button or do Shift and R, it will put you in full impulse. You see it's flashing? So that's like your very maximum speed, unless you click on
Warning,
the
ship is under
Click on a
attack.
shield that is low on power to repair it. This will divert power from your other shields.
and you will immediately drop out of full impulse when you start firing
Thanks for
your
the help.
target,
Our
or you're
engines
hit
are
by a
offline.
target.
Could you transfer some energy and get them started again?
Can do, Captain. Stand by. Let's stop for a second. And as the computer was saying, if your shield is getting low, you can click on any of these to direct shield power in that quadrant, or you can click in the middle to balance the shield. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it isn't. If you're going into a battle with a lot of other ships, you could direct power to the shields, or if you're trying to get somewhere quickly, you could direct them into speed. That tends only really to be useful during anything up to level 65, because before that, using a combination of phasers and torpedoes tend to work as you'd expect them to work. Once you get to level 65, you tend to either go all phasers, or or you could go all torpedoes, but to do that you need plenty of shields. But most people tend to leave it on the weapons and then upgrade all their kit to the max level. But you'll find your build, you swap things in, swap things out, see what works for you. So, we need to get on this freighter, then I'll transfer energy to the freighter, so let's do that.
Thanks for everything. Good luck with the Klingons.
Right, safe travels, Captain.
Lieutenant, I've made some modifications to our torpedo launcher. I think you'll like the results.
Acknowledged. Okay.
Remember that you can activate full impulse by clicking on the arrow. Deactivate full impulse by clicking on it again.
Okay. Do that in a second. If we look up at the minimap, we'll see that there's a green circle. And just like the yellow circle, that gives us some indication of where to go. So, we need to go that way. Also, if you see you've got an arrow where your ship's pointing, and a V of where you're looking. So my ship is pointed north, but I'm looking west. If I turn the camera, you'll see that that V moves to where you're looking. So if you get a bit disorientated, you can look at the map and go, well, my ship's looking that way, so if I want to look the same way as my ship, I can just use the mouse and drag it around. Also, they've helpfully put targets on, so we need to go over there, so there's a triangle, a circle around it, and those great big bars there to give us some indication of where we're going to. So if we do Control R, which is the same as clicking at the top, that'll put us into full
Activate high yield torpedo by clicking on the icon
Ship
or
is under
using
attack.
Alt+1.
As I did there, I did Shift R again to turn off
Target's shields have failed.
full impulse.
More Klingon ships detected on long-range sensors, sir.
Lay in an intercept course, lock weapons, and fire at will.
So let's head over there. You also can't activate full impulse when you're under red alert conditions. And you'll also notice if you go to full impulse, your levels drop.
Warning,
So you're
ship is under
best
attack.
to come out of full impulse before you get to the 10
Target's shields have failed.
kilometer limit, so that you have a chance for your levels to reach back up to their full potential. And as I said before, because our beams cover the 360 arc, we can fire at the enemy all around the ship. However, we upgraded our front phaser bank, so that will be stronger than any of the rear arc until we upgrade those.
This is the USS Enterprise. Acknowledge, please.
Oh, hello. Acknowledge, Enterprise. En route to your position now. And of course, you won't fire your torpedo.
The cub comes to fight beside the wolf, eh? And now you will die with him as well.
Right, let's go to full impulse. And about 12 we cut full impulse to give a few seconds to upgrade. And then
Warning,
we start
ship
firing.
is under attack. Target's shields have failed.
And what I keep forgetting is to select Party's whole yield torpedoes.
Your head will decorate my bridge.
So
This
there we
isn't
go.
over,
Next
Kirk.
torpedoes.
I will avenge myself
stronger.
upon you and your lackey.
And we wait.
Thank you for your assistance.
Oh, hello, Spock. Okay. Sensors indicate there are no enemy vessels remaining in this sector. Our actions today should deter the Klingons from further acts of piracy in the area, though they are often far from logical in such matters. Thanks for the update, Commander. Safe travels, Reliance out.